Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Xochitl. If you are new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you can keep up with all of my videos, beauty, lifestyle, keto, and more. Today, I wanted to talk about some of my favorite makeup brushes. It's been since I started my channel that I've done a video like this, and I've definitely accumulated a lot of brushes, and I feel like I've also haven't bought that many brushes, but I wanted to talk about some of my favorites, some that I think are essential to have in your collection. And I think this will be really helpful, especially for those of you who just, are surrounded by all these makeup tools and you're not sure which ones to buy. Looking at the collection that I have today, the bonus part is that a lot of these are affordable. I think there's really pretty much kind of like two high-end ones, a couple mid-range, but worth the investment. And I've had them for years, so that's why I'm talking about them today. But let's start off with eye brushes. So for eye brushes, I've got a couple different guys here, and a lot of these brushes you probably have seen me use on my makeup tutorials and stuff like that. So the first brush, very, very affordable, that I think would be essential to have in your collection, especially if you want to just recreate a lot of these amazing eye looks, would be the Morphe M43 brush. So the Morphe M43 brush, it's a fluffy brush, and it's a little bit more pinched than a full-on fluffy brush. I'll compare it to another one of my fluffy brushes, but this one is a great, especially if you want to use a lot of eyeshadow colors around the crease and you really want to kind of blow it out a little bit. You want to blend it out. This is going to give you great color application and a great blend, so you can really kind of get in that crease but still kind of go ahead and blend it out. I have at least 5 of these brushes. I like to kind of just have them in rotation, and a lot of these brushes I'll have multiples of so that I don't have to clean them right away. I can just kind of, put them in the to clean pile and kind of keep it moving from there. But if you're going to pick up any eye brush, I would definitely recommend a Morphe. This one is really just going to give you that kind of quick placement for where you need it, and you're going to be able to blend it out. You can probably do so much with this brush. If you want to lightly add a wash of color in the lid, you can do it like that as well. You can, have multiple crease colors and just kind of place them lower, lower, and lower with this brush. Love it so much. Similar to the Morphe. So I actually had this brush first, but the Morphe was a little bit more affordable, and I'll kind of tell you the pros and cons of each. But very, very similar to the Morphe brush is this Sigma E25 brush. So Sigma is one of the first brush brands that I bought when I first started off with makeup, and the E25 basically is the same thing as the Morphe M43. The only difference, or one of the many differences, is that the Sigma just cost a little bit more. The Morphe is probably the most affordable one that you're going to find. Morphe you can get at Ulta or Morphe stores, Morphe online. Sigma you can get in the Sigma store online, or as well as, Nordstrom. The differences why you might want to buy one over the other, of course, is price. Morphe is gonna cost a lot less. I believe the Sigma brush, while it's still not as high as the price of a MAC brush, it's probably like maybe half or so. The Sigma brush would brand me maybe somewhere around like $15 or so. I'll link all these brushes down below. But I will say the quality is just a little bit better for the Sigma brush. The Sigma brush is going to last you so much longer. I have an old Sigma brush. This is one of the newer ones that I had that has lasted me so long, but also the way that it's shaped, it's going to keep its shape a little bit better, a little bit longer. The Morphe brush was definitely a little bit more pinched, but throughout the time, I feel like depending how often you use it and wash it, it's going to kind of just lose its form a little bit, just kind of puff out a little bit more. So Sigma is definitely a quality brand that I love. I have loved. I need to buy some of the newest brushes because their quality is just great. That's what you're kind of paying for. You're paying for longevity. Whereas Morphe, you might, one of these brushes might not last you as long. as a Sigma brush, you might have to replace it, but guess what, it didn't cost as much. So depending on what you're wanting, I feel like both are great options. Both are going to do the same thing. Really great crease brush shade. Next, just for a little bit of a comparison, but the other one that I love, this is the Sigma E35 brush. So this brush, I'll compare it to the Sigma E25, similar to the Morphe M433, is way fluffier. So this is going to be good for like an all around kind of a wash of color right above the crease. So usually I'll go in with the super light brown, and then right on the crease just to deepen it, I'm going to go in with the Sigma E25. But this one is great maybe if you don't want to be as precise with it. You just want like a quick, just kind of add like bronzer, a nice little brown shade just to give your eyes some sort of dimension. Then you can go in with the Sigma E25 with just a little bit more detail work if you want. But the Sigma E35, I like to kind of use this one first with that light shade and then go with something a little bit darker with the Sigma E25. So something a little bit fluffier is going to be like a great addition to your collection. One more comparison, another Sigma brush that I love so much. It's been through some things, but guess what? It's still here. This is the Sigma E40 brush. This one, if you've seen on my tutorials, is the one that my dog chewed up. He got into my makeup bag. That was zipped, by the way. He didn't bite through the bag. He unzipped it, the little oof. But yes, so he got to the E40, but just the handle, and even trying to bite through the handle with those really sharp husky teeth, it withstood a husky. So just to compare all three, so we have the Sigma E40. This, because you need multiple brushes, this is going to basically blend and diffuse the color the most. And then you can go in a little bit slighter precision with the E35. It's a little bit smaller, not as fluffy, so you guys can see. And then the detail work is going to come in with the Sigma E25. So bigger, medium, smallest. So depending what you like, or maybe even depending on the size of your eyes. Sometimes when you see people use certain brushes, they might not all work for you. I feel like there's brushes that are bigger than this, and honestly for my eye shape, I don't need that. And for those of you who have smaller eyes, sometimes you might go in with something like this and then a pencil brush. So depending on, your eye shape and what you're trying to kind of achieve, what type of eye look, more detailed work, you might want to go a little bit smaller. But for starter brushes, I would definitely recommend the E40 for nice fluffy, and then the E35 semi-fluffy, and then you have the Sigma E25. So if you were going to buy some Sigma brushes, these three I would highly recommend for sure. Next, for a lid shade brush, the one that I love is the MAC 242 brush. So this guy also I've had for years. I actually didn't buy this. I convinced my sister to buy this for me senior year of college, I believe. So 7 years ago. Yes, this brush has lasted. Worth it if you can get a gift. I believe it's now called the MAC 242S. So just might be just a little bit smaller or so, but still works. I freaking love this brush. I need more. It's just so expensive. I'm going to try to find a dupe for it from Sigma so I can pay way less and just kind of have it in rotation a little bit more when I do my makeup. But I love this one for matte shades and shimmer shades, but especially for shimmer shades. I feel like it's easy to find lid shade brushes for matte shades, but sometimes for shimmer shades, it can be a little bit tricky. This one just kind of, when you pack it on, it just packs on a shimmer shade beautifully without it losing any of like the glitters, any shimmers, or just kind of like swiping it off. If you're going to invest in a makeup brush, this one is totally worth it. The MAC 242, I love it to apply to lid shades, especially if you're kind of using a little bit more amplified of a shade, a little bit more amplified of a type of pigment. This is going to be your best friend. Once again, two very similar brushes, just honestly depends on the price point. I have a Morphe option and I have a Sigma option. So this is the Morphe, this is their pencil brush. This is the M431. And then we have the Sigma pencil brush. I honestly, the color has rubbed off because that's how long I've had it. My first ever Sigma purchase sometime in college. But just look at the difference of the quality. I feel like the Sigma brush has definitely held its shape a lot better. That's the only thing with these Morphe pencil brushes, that you want to have a very fine tip. They get a little bit frayed, a little bit messed up. I like the length of the Sigma brush a little bit better on that tip. And honestly, I feel like it stays kind of pointy while still being soft. So I like this for underneath my lash line to get that kind of precision color. Or if I really, really want some detail work, sometimes if I really want to smoke it out, I'll go in with like a black darker shade right in the corners for that precision. Maybe I'll go right into the crease shade in there as well with the kind of pointed brush. So if you have really, really small eyes, I highly, highly recommend you getting a pointed brush like either the Sigma or the Morphe. Once again, Morphe is just going to be a little bit cheaper. But, you know, and honestly, for the pencil brushes, I feel like the quality doesn't last as long, still usable. The Sigma one just looks a little bit more intact, just a little bit nicer, but I still use both. The Sigma is maybe just a wee bit softer too, so it's just something to keep in mind, but the Morphe one will kind of, you know, keep you going through. For another Morphe Sigma comparison options, I love this brush so much. Sigma, this is their E15 brush. You can use this for a couple different things. This one I like to specifically use once again for like my lower lash line, more of a precise type of like a black or a brown, and then I might blend it out with that pencil brush. But this one is a flat top, it's just flat top shader brush. So this is really, really great for underneath the lash line. If you wanted to kind of do some shadow on your top lash line, this is great as well to really just kind of press that color in there. Something very, very similar but rounded. This is the Morphe M408 brush. So it's got a little bit more of a round top compared to the flat top. I think I prefer the flat top, but I only have one of these. So I like to use the rounded Morphe one as well. I think they both work well. I love that they're stiff, because I've bought in other flat top brushes similar to the Sigma one that were not stiff at all, and it makes a huge difference when you're really trying to just press a shadow underneath the lash line and your upper lash line as well. But if you want to save money, I like the Morphe M408. If you want to invest a little bit more, I would say the Sigma E15 brush, but I think both of these are really, really great options for that lower lash line, just to kind of smoke it out, add a little bit of color. For my gel liner girls, I have used this brush so many times. This is the small angle brush from Sigma, the E65 brush. They have one that's a little bit smaller, but I think this one is like the perfect size for the wing liner control for me to use specifically. So it's angled, which I like. There's a couple different types of angled brushes you can, or different types of liner brushes you can use. I personally prefer the angled. They have one that's just kind of, what would you call it? Like just like a little, just little hairs, kind of really thin. But I specifically like a angled brush for liner because of the tip. You can really just kind of press where you want, kind of, you can angle it up and then press down and kind of start filling in your wing liner from there. I think it makes it really, really easy. I forget what the name of the other one is, but the E65, and I always forgot which one, but E65 is great. I personally like a wing liner with like that comes with the actual product, the type of brush tip. That's my favorite. But when I use gel liner, honestly, I'm not mad at it. And if you have to have a brush for gel liner, highly, highly recommend the Sigma E65 brush. For when you have long nails, when I get my done, when I grow my out a little bit more because I'm getting them done consistently. I never understood people using a brush to apply their eyeshadow base until I had nails, because some people would say you can just go in with your fingers, but when you have long, long nails, not trying to get them dirty underneath. So a brush that I love for that, this is the Sigma P80 brush. So it's a little Kabuki brush, and it's a flat top one. They have a couple different options, but I like this one specifically. It just kind of presses that product in, it blends it out evenly, and I didn't understand using a brush to blend out your eyeshadow base until I had nails. So if you've been struggling, you want a really nice soft brush, it's gonna blend out whether it's concealer or something like a MAC paint pot. I think you're really gonna like this Sigma P80 brush. Also really good if you want to blend out underneath concealer. So a lot of these brushes, I'll kind of show you a little bit more when it comes to face brushes. I like when they do like a multi-dual type of things. You can blend out the concealer down here. If you want some really precise cream contour, you can go ahead and do that as well. Something I don't have too much of, but I'm quite the concealer holic that I want to get more into, especially after this brush. So a concealer brush that I love. This is the Flower Beauty. I believe it's just called their concealer brush. And it looks like this. I got mine from Walmart, but it's just kind of like, this one has more of an angle rather than like a flat top compared to that Sigma one. And this one you could probably, you know, blend out your eyeshadow base as well. But I love how soft, it's like packed but not too packed, so it makes it kind of soft to really go ahead and blend out creamy concealers. I would say more mattifying concealers, not my favorite, but super duper creamy concealers, I like using a brush because it's like, why not just use your beauty blender? But the reason why I would sometimes use a brush when blending out concealers would be if it's like a kind of not as full coverage. I think the brush just adds on the coverage that a beauty blender might kind of take away. So if you've been struggling or you don't want to use up as much product, you don't want your sponge to soak everything up, try a concealer brush like this one. Very nice. Under eye setting brushes. Like I said, I love my concealer. I, however, crease really badly, so I really need to go ahead and set my concealer right away. Sometimes I'll do it with my beauty blender. Sometimes I like to do it with a brush, and one that I love, I've had this one for years too, great quality. This is the Real Techniques setting brush. So I have a couple more Real Technique brushes to show you guys. The only thing to kind of keep in mind is that I bought these years ago, so since then they revamped the look of a lot of their brushes, so they're gonna be a lot lighter, softer colors, but I'll link everything down below so you can, you know, see it. But this is their setting brush, and this just looks like a really big fluffy brush. It's not super just poofed out, it's kind of got that slimness to it, so that basically, like, as soon as I'm done with the concealer, I just press that product in. Another way that I like to use this one's like multi-use product. You can go in if you want that really intense highlights, or if you want the intensity game, what I'll do is after my bronzer, I'll go with a little bit of a darker shade of contour and really kind of go in there, add that, and then blend it out again with the bigger brush for contour. So many different options for this brush, but especially to set underneath the eyes. I love it so much. It like just picks up the right amount of product. It's super soft, and it just kind of helps like blend that product underneath the eyes. If you want something even cheaper than that Real Techniques under eye setting brush, e.l.f. Cosmetics. This is maybe like $3 or so. Once again, I've had this one for years as well. The biggest difference is this one's maybe a little bit more rounded. It's not as soft as the Real Techniques, but it gets the job done. So I like to use the same thing to take this underneath my eyes. Also, I really love to use this one after I bronze for just that, you know, chiseling out the cheekbones. Both of these are great. So the Real Technique one is like $7, maybe $8 or so, and you know, the e.l.f. one is half the price. I've had them both for years, and I think they're both great quality options. Highlight. You know, I love to highlight, and you need a good highlight brush. Honestly, I'm not too big of a fan of fan highlighting brushes. Maybe because I really just love a popping highlight. So I love an intense highlight, and I feel like I don't always get that. I feel like a fan brush is better for a more subtle kind of highlight, and we're not about that. So 2 highlight brushes that I love from Morphe. This is the M501. Once again, this just looks like a huge fluffy brush, and then the other one is the M510. So both of these I really love for highlight. I think they both accomplish what I need them to do. This one is a little bit bigger. The M510 and the M501 is a little bit smaller. I like, maybe if I had to choose, favorite number one would be the M501, just because it has that really pointed tip to really kind of get precise there. And especially if maybe you have a smaller face, you're gonna like something a little bit more like the M501 as opposed to the M510. But both of them I think do a really great job. Honestly, even with this bigger one, I just kind of take the edge and do what I need to do. But two really great affordable highlight options. For face brushes, this is probably one of my cheapest face brushes and one of my favorites. You've probably seen me talk about it. Don't judge it. I did a quick cleanse, so it's a little bit, not dirty, but you'll see. So this is my Wet n Wild. This is my Wet n Wild flat top brush. It's really, really compact. I love, 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 love this for foundation. If you love coverage, or maybe you just have a lighter coverage foundation, you want to get a little bit more coverage out of it. Your beauty blender is soaking up a lot of product. This from Wet n Wild, it's like $3. It goes on sale a lot at Walgreens, $1.50. I've been meaning to buy multiples of these. It's got a little bit of blue on there. I cleaned it with my Cinema Secrets. It's like a quick cleanser because I wanted to look a little bit cleaner, and it just kind of like gets stuck on there, but that's actually like a clean product. But this, the way that it just air brushes on foundation, like this competes with my more expensive foundation brush, which I'll talk to you in a bit. Get this one. If you've probably heard me brag about this one a lot, get it. The other thing that I've recently been using it for as well, that I actually really love because of one of my other newest brushes, is for bronzer. So whether it's cream and or powder bronzer, just for like a quick kind of stipple on the face bronze, I feel like you really just get control because all you have to do is just tap it on the face. So you're really just being a little bit more precise with the bronzer, as opposed to maybe a fluffier brush where you kind of want to move it around a little bit more and your hand kind of goes a little bit lower or higher. You just get the most control with the flat top brush. So foundation and bronzer are two of my favorite things and the most affordable brush for it. If you're gonna buy any brush out of this collection, buy this one. If you're feeling a little bit bougie and you want to spend a little bit more on your foundation brush because of the hype, because you're just at Sephora and you want to buy something at Sephora, one that I would recommend that I've had for years as well is the number 56 brush. This is a Pro Flawless Airbrush. It's worth the money. If you had to buy a Sephora foundation brush, this one is definitely it. They have a couple of other ones that look very similar, but they're different. This one, just honestly, it's what it is. It's Pro Flawless Brush. I think it was like $20-some or something. So if you want to save money, get that other brush. But this blends out foundation like a dream. I just love how it just kind of like, as you stipple it on, it just blends it as you go. Another great way that you can use this brush is also if you want to blend out cream bronzer. That is just beautiful. But if I had to talk about a brush that I spent the most on, that I do not regret, that was worth investing in, it would definitely be the number 56 Pro Flawless brush from Sephora. Foundation brush. Like if you want to invest in a foundation brush, I highly recommend this one. Another great foundation and or cream bronzer brush. This is the Real Techniques. This is your expert face brush. Once again, it's going to be reformatted, revamped. It's going to look even cuter than mine, but this is one of the first brushes that I started off with when using brushes was really big on YouTube for blending out your foundation. I just love this one. It's got like a nice compact, so it really just stipples that product onto your face. So before I can afford that Sephora one, I was using this and I was getting by. Also, I like the fact that it's kind of a little bit more pinched, so that therefore it really blends out cream bronzer beautifully. So if you're into cream bronzer, you want a very affordable brush to blend that out, highly recommend this Real Techniques brush. Finally, another type of stippling brush that I like, a little bit different than the other ones. This is the Crown brush, and Morphe probably has a very similar one to this one. I'm going to link it down below if I find it on Crown or Morphe. It's the same manufacturer type of thing, just different label on it. But basically the difference here is that this one is a little bit more rounded. This is basically what a lot of people just call their rounded foundation brush. I honestly sometimes don't know. Maybe I favor the flat top just a little bit more, but there's days when I use a rounded brush, and I just love it so much. So this is the one by Crown, and this one just kind of covers everything. It just makes it so quick because it's a lot bigger, but it really presses in your foundation really, really nicely. So a round top Kabuki brush is definitely a great one to add to your collection. If you like to use powder for your face, this one specifically, if you have dry skin like me, or just in general you can, but I'll tell you why I recommend it mostly for dry skin, or in general, I think it's important to have a brush like this to kind of blend everything out once you're done with adding bronzer, blush, highlight, just to make sure everything kind of, you know, blends seamlessly. A type of Kabuki brush, this is the Crown Brush C406 Large Duo Face Brush. So this is a duo fiber brush. So as you see, you know, as compared to my other brushes, it's more spread out. So it's not going to pack on as much product as a more packed, dense brush. I like the loose fibers of this brush because especially for me, when I'm adding loose powders, any setting powders, any light powders, all I want is a light dusting of powder. So therefore, this is not picking up as much product. I just kind of like to quick swirl, dip, tap off, and just kind of lightly tap all over my face. The other thing I really love these bristles for is to blend everything together. Once I've got bronzer, blush, highlights, powders, anything, it just does a really beautiful job. So for blending purposes, I think everybody should get it. For applying powders for your face, I definitely recommend this for dry skin, just so you're not picking up as much product. This will give you like a nice little light dusting of product. One more dual fiber brush, and then I basically have like a bucket of contour and bronzer brushes because I love them so much. Okay, so this last one, it's going to be a smaller dual fiber brush. A couple different things you can kind of use this for. Once again, this is a Crown brush. This is a dual fiber, but I like this one because it is a little bit more pinch. It's not as fanned out, and this will give you a little bit more precision. I love this for blending out cream products. I want to be precise, but I want to blend out those cream products. I wouldn't necessarily blend out my cream bronzer. This is just too much. It's going to go all over the place. So for my cream bronzer, this just fits nicely in the cheekbones and really gets you to just kind of blend that out. I think this is especially helpful if you have very pigmented cream bronzers. Another great thing that you can use this for is also like cream blushes. Maybe even you want to stipple out your foundation. You can even go ahead and do that, but I like coverage, so I'm not trying to take it away with a brush like this. But for cream products around your face, this one, something like this Crown brush, is going to be very, very nice. Two of my favorite blush brushes are actually very, very affordable. So the first one, let's talk about yet another Wet n Wild brush that's very, very affordable. It's that same collection with the white handle, the white, and then the pink tip. But this is, I'm not sure exactly, I wish I had a name on it. I'll link it below though. I think it might just be their blush brush. And this one is great. I have another option for a blush brush for them if you want a little bit more precision, but just to kind of get the product on the cheeks, these are so soft. Honestly, I was amazed. I forgot what it was that got me to pick this collection of brushes up, because sometimes you're like $3, $2. Like, is it really, are they really that good? Yes. They are that good. These are my favorite from like that collection, and this one, if you want a very affordable blush brush, you're gonna love this one. Also, you can probably even dupe this for bronzer because it's kind of like white enough, and just get like a nice bronze all around the face. My next favorite blush brush, also very affordable. I believe this one is about like $6 unless they raise the price because they realize how amazing it is. This is my Target Up and Up brush. So this is Target brand. This is a blush brush. I love this brush so much. I have like 2 other brushes like this for a blush. I haven't always invested in blush brushes, but I found something that I loved. Once again, super soft, but it picks up product, not too much, and it applies it and blends it out so beautifully. And once again, it's kind of got like that pinchness to it, so it's not too fanned out, so you get that precision around the face. You can just kind of like tap it on and blend it out. Once again, I would probably use this one for bronzer all around the face as well. So duo products, you only pay $6. If you watch my channel, if you ask me, are you blush or a bronzer girl? I am obviously a bronzer girl. And if there's a brush you can kind of convince me to buy, or I'm like, okay, I have so many brushes, but obviously I love bronzer so much that I also love bronzer brushes. I'm obsessed. So a bronzer brush that also, a lot of these dupe as blush brushes, which is why I don't have too many individual blush brushes in general, because I was like, I'll just use this slash bronzer brush, multi-use product. So first one, as I mentioned, from the Wet n Wild product, a little bit different than the just a blush brush, but it's a little bit smaller. This is an angled brush, and honestly you can use this for contour, bronzer, and or what do you call it, blush. But I kind of like this because you can kind of angle it and just get a little bit more precision with it, as it is a little bit smaller. So depending maybe on your face size, you want something a little bit smaller, I would definitely recommend this one. And this blends out bronzer so beautifully. I don't care if it's high-end, if it's drugstore, you're saving money with this brush and you can buy yourself some more makeup. I've got 3 more angled brushes that I love for bronzer and blush as well. So the next one, a very, very affordable one. This is the Colourpop. This is their angled brush. Once again, I love all of these probably for the same reason. They're just so soft. They blend out the product. So Colourpop's angled brush, I hate that they don't have like the names on there, but I use this for bronzer and a blush. I'll hold them up for comparison. The next one, ooh, so incredibly soft. Like, I don't know anymore. I have a couple of other favorites. I don't know. But this used to be my go-to brush. Like if I knew I was going to have a special occasion, I would specifically save this brush for that occasion because it was just so soft. It just airbrushed bronzer on so beautifully. And this is the this is the Morphe E4 brush. I believe they have the same one. They vamped it up and it just has like a different colored tip, like almost reddish. I don't know why they had to do that, but this one is just, this was like their bunny soft collection. And that's the only thing with like soft brushes, sometimes they don't do a good job of picking a product or blending it out, but this one is so soft. It just packs on the product beautifully and blends it out. The only thing with Morphe brushes, sometimes I feel like it's nearing its end so far. Sometimes the glue comes off from the handle. So far it hasn't. I just have a feeling it will soon. So, but if you're gonna buy any Morphe brush, get this face brush. You will not regret it. It will be your favorite, the Morphe E4. Then lastly, an OG, one that's going to last you. One of the first brushes that I bought, because you know my dog tried to eat it. This is the Sigma F40 brush. Once again, this is also angled, and this one just picks up probably the most product, which is a good thing. I'm not mad at, and it just blends it out ever so nicely. I would say the softest one is probably the Morphe E4, but I think all of these do a really great job of blending. Can you tell I'm a sucker for angled brushes. I've got one more, but it's part of a collection. But really great affordable options, just depending what brand you want to use, what price point you want to get. But even something like the Sigma F40, if you're gonna spend a little bit more, guess what? It's gonna last you a little bit longer. I mean, so far so good with these other guys, but I just have the most confidence in the Sigma brush. Two other options for, well, not two, I got a couple more. Two other options for contouring, maybe a little bit more precision, more for contouring. I think these do great with the bronzing, but contouring, I want to pinpoint it just a little bit more. You love that intense contour. Two brushes that I love from Sigma. This is the F65, and then Morphe, we have an affordable option. So Morphe is the M530. So as you can see, the Morphe is just a little bit bigger than the Sigma one. The Sigma one is going to be a little bit better for contouring. The A565. This is the contour brush. It might be F85, but this one is so small. It fits right into the cheekbones, and you can really get it and swirl it around. Whereas the Morphe one, the M530, this one I prefer a little bit more for that precise bronzer brush. So precision contour, precision bronzer. You can really pinpoint and just kind of mix that up. A good contour brush too as well. But I would say if you have a little bit of a bigger face, it's going to be a little bit more precise contour. I prefer this for a bronzing. And this one, you can't go wrong with a nice round top brush for contouring. So if you prefer round top brush for contouring, you know, one of these will be great. Some people prefer the angle for contouring. Comment down below, are you team angled brush for bronzing and contouring, or are you team round top small precise? I don't know. If you ask me, don't know. Speaking of round top precision contouring. If you want something cheaper than the Sigma brush, once again, this Real Techniques brush. It's a pain to get, but it's worth it. I wish they would change it. They just know everybody wants this one. So a little bit newer than when it first came out, but I think it's revamped even more. But this one, nice, round, fits right in the cheekbones for the contouring, but it comes in a set. It doesn't come individually. You have to buy it in a set, and they're smart because they know you will buy the set just to get this brush. They know that you will buy the set twice just to get this brush twice and have it in your collection because it's that good. But I love how soft it is. So while you get that precision, it really gets you to kind of get those swirls in and really blend out that contour so it's not as harsh. But ooh girl, it looks on point. So if you want something a little bit more affordable, although is it, because you have to pay a little bit more to get a whole set, but you get multiple brushes from it. So I think maybe this brush, not this brush, maybe I think the foundation, no, I think that comes out. I think, yeah. This is another option actually. I'll talk to you guys about it, but this is the buffing brush. They come in a set. And I'll tell you what I actually love about the buffing brush. So for me, the buffing brush actually is a great way you can use bronzer. So you can do a bronzer with the buffing brush and then going with like a darker color for contour. Or specifically for those of you who have more oily skin, this isn't a specific favorite of mine, but I think it's a great one to point out for those of you who have oily skin. Whereas I talked to you about how I like my dual fiber brush because it's so loose. This one's more packed. So if you want to pack on that powder, I would use something like this Real Techniques buffing brush, which comes in that set. And honestly, this is one that I really love to use on clients when I was doing makeup. Who knows when that will be again. When I have clients who have oily skin, because it really just adds the coverage if they want it, and it also just kind of sets it really, really well. One of my favorites contour brushes. You need this in your collection. If you love contouring, this is like the best $10 ever spent. I remember the day I got this too. My friend and I decided, let's go for a run to Target. And basically the run to Target was to treat yourself after you make it to Target, and you can only buy what you can carry back on your run. So I bought this brush. This is the e.l.f. This is their Flawless Airbrush brush. I always forget the name though because it doesn't say it on there, but I'll link it down below. This brush flawlessly airbrushes contour bronzer. I love it for both bronzer and or contour. If I want just more precision with my bronzer, the size of it is, I just love a nice kind of like thin but fluffy brush for my contour. It just fits like beautifully in the cheekbones just to create just that right size of like contour and or bronzer. But the way that it airbrushes it out, it's like magic. Do you believe in magic? Yes, I do. With this brush, $10. It's one of the more expensive e.l.f. brushes, but $10 still. I need to buy a couple more of these. If anybody wants to give me a Christmas present, get me this brush. I'll link it down below so you can get it. But I got mine at Target. They probably might have it a couple of other places unless it's like a Target like specialty or something. But if you don't know which, I mean, we got some really, that's how much I love bronzer and contour. I can't decide, but this is definitely one of my top bronzer and contour brushes. I actually did see, I think it was Katie here on YouTube actually also use it for foundation, and I want to get multiple so I can try it with foundation. And then like, because honestly the bristles on this, it's crazy because some of them are just like a little bit longer and then some of them are shorter, but like that just makes the product just works so well. So I can totally see this blending out cream products beautifully. Lastly, newest brushes. Honestly, since I bought these brushes, I can't remember the last time I bought any of these other brushes that I'm talking about, and usually I'm not someone who buys brushes from a collection when they come out with a makeup product and the kind of like matching brushes to go with it. I'm just like, I've got enough brushes. Something about these brushes, I was like, I need these. And pretty affordable. So for these three, these are the Alamar Cosmetics. This is the Complexion Trio brushes that, you know, pairs with their Brighton and Bronze complexion palettes. Ooh, worth it. I believe for the trio it was maybe about like $34 or $36, but you get a discount, I believe, if you buy this with the palette, and so worth it. So you get there a bronzer brush, which is a flat top brush Then you get their brightening brush. So this is, you know, a little bit kind of flat, a little bit bigger than my other under eye setting brushes. And then of course you get a complexion brush, which is angled. And I use all of these when I use that palette, and they just pair so beautifully. But I love, one, how incredibly soft they are. I've washed them a couple times, so I can definitely tell you they hold up really, really well. I did a quick wash with that blue thing, so don't mind that. But this brush, if I had to name my favorite from this trio, it would be the bronzer brush. This is the reason why I kind of fell in love with bronzing with a flat top brush, because it just makes it so easy. I think this is the most user-friendly type of brush to bronze with, because all you have to do is just tap the product in and just kind of airbrushes it onto your face. It kind of leaves minimal room for error for you to go too low, too high. There's always ways to fix that, but I feel like for those of you who just want something quick and easy, this just makes the job so easy. I've seen on the Alamar page them use it for foundation as well, which I feel like I could totally see with the way that it is. I still haven't tried it, I have to, but I'm always using it for bronzer, so I was like, do I need another trio? I wish if they sell it individually, I probably will buy it for that. But then once again, I can't resist an angled brush. This one I like to kind of just use the edge for the darkest shade and then blend it back out with the bronzer so I can cut that contour. And then this brush, the Brighton brush, I love it so much, and it's just so soft, but it packs on the product beautifully, and that product is just so pigmented, but it also, like, it doesn't brush it off or anything. So this Complexion trio, the newest of my brush collection, is so worth it. So those are my favorite makeup brushes from my makeup brush collection. I've accumulated quite a lot over the years, so which is why I feel like I kind of took a pause on buying makeup brushes. On the most recent ones were definitely those Alamar Cosmetics brushes. Before that, it's been a while since I picked up brushes. The other brushes that I really love, honestly, are the ones that come in the Anastasia Beverly Hills eyeshadow palettes, those dual-ended ones. And I mean, I don't buy them because I buy palettes and I get them for free. But the other brushes that you probably see on my channel a lot, but I didn't mention, honestly, just because they're discontinued, would be the Sonia Kashuk brushes. So my favorite fluffy brush, this is the Sonia Kashuk number 109 brush, but they don't sell it anymore. It was like only $3 as well. Beautiful. And then I have another lid shade brush from Sonia Kashuk. Once again, if I had to choose an affordable lid shade brush, other than that one, I haven't really found anything that I've loved like that one, other than another e.l.f. brush that's also discontinued. So I also want to just give a shout out to Sonia Kashuk brushes. I saw that they recently did revamp and have new collections added. They had like a whole pink, blush pink collection that I really want, but I'm just like, I have all these brushes, do I really need to? Maybe one of these days I'll try out some of their new brushes, especially their bronzer brushes. But let me know if you guys have tried any Sonia Kashuk brushes, if you're like OGs and you used to love Sonia Kashuk like me. They had just taken a pause and created new brushes, or I had so many I didn't, and now they have new ones. So comment down below what other brands of brushes and brush types that you love. When people kind of ask me what's your favorite brush brand, it's kind of hard to just pinpoint it to one brand, because I feel like some brands do a really great job with face brushes and other brands do a really great job with eye brushes. So if you kind of saw the mix, just kind of all over the place. There's some brands just do better at other things, and we've just kind of created that collection from there. So hopefully this video was helpful for those of you who are trying to find, you know, a specific foundation brush, a contour brush, we've got options, an eyeshadow brush, a blending brushes. Like, where do you even start with blending brushes? Believe me, I've been there. So I hope you get something out of this. Let me know if you purchase any of these brushes, and you know, if you love them. I always love hearing your guys' feedback, and hopefully these videos are helpful for you. But thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button to keep up with all of my videos, and I'll see you all next time.